Hello, I'm Scott Pagel, the director of the Jacob Burns Law Library and professor of law here at the George Washington University. Today I'm here to tell you the history of Stockton Hall, which celebrates its 100th anniversary in 2025. GW Law is the oldest law school in the District of Columbia. It started the law program in 1865. During the last part of the 19th century and early 20th century, both the law school and the university held its programs in many locations around the city before it came to its current location here in Foggy Bottom. Law school classes were first held at the Old Trinity Episcopal Church on 5th Street between D and E Streets. From 1884 to 1899, classes were held at the University Building at 15th and H. And then from 1899 to 1910, they were held in the Law School Lecture Hall next to the University Building. Classes were moved to the top floor of the old Masonic Temple building at 13th and H, which is now the National Museum of Women in the Arts, from 1910 to 1921, and then in the former U.S. Department of Justice building at 1435 K Street from 1921 to 1925. Beginning in 1912, the university began acquiring property on the space of land known as Lot 102 on the plat map of the District of Columbia. The main influence in moving to this area was the location of the house of General Maxwell Woodhull, an influential trustee of the university, which stood at the corner of 21st and G Street. The house is still there and now serves as one of the university's museums. Eventually, the university owned all of the small houses and buildings on the lot bordered by 20th and 21st and G and H Streets, the area now known as the University Yard. For several years, offices and departments of the university simply operated in these old buildings. Finally, in 1924, the university authorized the construction of Corcoran Hall along 21st Street between G and H. This remains as the first building constructed specifically by the university. Also in 1924, the university constructed a temporary gym along H Street between 20th and 21st Streets. This building, known as the Tin Tabernacle because of its tin roof, no longer exists. It was located where the statue of George Washington now stands. Finally, the Board of Trustees authorized the construction of Stockton Hall in the middle of 20th Street to house the law school. The cost of the building was not to exceed $250,000. It was to be named after Admiral Charles H. Stockton, president of the university from 1910 to 1918. The cornerstone for the building was laid on December 12, 1924, by the Grand Lodge of Masons of the District of Columbia, using the marble gavel which George Washington had used when he laid the southeast cornerstone of the Capitol in 1793. The building was dedicated on November 14, 1925. The proceedings were described in the 1925 Alumni Association Bulletin. Dean Roscoe Pound of Harvard Law School gave the address. The formal ceremony was held in the adjacent gymnasium before an academic procession through Stockton Hall. This simple 5-story building, including the basement, was the primary location for the law school beginning in 1925. A moot courtroom was located on the first floor. The upper floors held classrooms and offices. The law library, located on the 4th floor, was named after Professor William A. Morey, who had been on the faculty for 29 years. You can see his portrait on the wall above the bookcases. For many years, Stockton provided adequate space for the program. The law degree at the time, an LLB, was an undergraduate degree, though many students already held a bachelor's degree. Eventually, an undergraduate degree was required for entry to the law school, and the JD degree was offered. Also, the law school started primarily as an evening part-time program that drew its student body from those working in government offices, especially the patent office. When Stockton Hall opened, a student could be either full-time or part-time, though part-time students greatly outnumbered full-time students. However, as the full-time program grew, space problems began to emerge. In addition, in 1954, GW Law absorbed students from the National University School of Law when the two institutions merged. For a time, the law school expanded to space in the townhouses adjacent to Stockton Hall, and much of the library's collection was housed in the university library. At the corner of 20th and G, one of the old townhouses was used for some of the law school programs. This building, now called the E Building, had at one time also been called the President's House because a university president held his offices there. Eventually, all of the other townhouses along 20th Street were torn down to make way for either Burns Law Library on the south end of Stockton or Lerner Hall at the north end. Stockton Hall has undergone many changes over the past 100 years. The basement, where the Burns Legal Clinic was located for many years, now houses librarian offices. The first floor houses student lounge areas. The second floor is a library reading room, and the portrait of Professor Morey still looks out over students studying in the library. The third floor houses small classrooms, and the fourth floor houses a few faculty offices. Stockton Hall continues to evolve as new programs and needs arise, but it continues to be the central building of the GW Law School complex after 100 years.